Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me on their fight story with Igdalia. We have Brendon Boates with us. Brendon, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. How did you get into martial arts?
Well, I told the story a few times to folks now. I never did any sort of martial arts when I was young or even when I started to reach middle age. But when my sons started taking classes at South Shore Sport Fighting with Bill, I watched them for a few months and then decided that I needed to get in there and start training as well. So that was pretty much my introduction to the sport into MMA as a practitioner. I've always been a fan of MMA for 20 something years, but I didn't do any sort of training, whether it be boxing, kickboxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, none of that stuff until just a couple years ago. MMA really just this past year, but the other martial arts until a couple years ago when my sons were in there. So and I've told again the story 1,000 times, but the whole reason I did it was so my sons couldn't beat me up when they got a little bit older, a little bit bigger.
What inspired you
Inspired me to what? Sorry.
to put them training at South
So
Shore?
I met Bill a long time ago. One of my best friends growing up started fighting out of South Shore. Alex Karalexis, who was on the first season, The Ultimate Fighter. So I met Bill through Alex a long time ago, and just knew him from that. Lost contact. Never really stayed in touch with him. We moved out of the area, but when we moved back down this way, my boys had expressed a little bit of interest in getting involved into MMA and stuff. So I knew immediately that I was going to call Bill just because I was familiar with him. So that's sort of how it all worked out. I brought them over there for a trial class. And honestly, I thought they would end up quitting. I figured they'd do a class or two and then be like, no, this isn't for me. Because neither one of them's particularly aggressive or, outgoing. They're pretty shy. But they loved it first night and said, yeah, we want to come back. So, and then I think their first jiu-jitsu competition. So they were hooked from there.
Oh, that's awesome. No, you were training for a fight for cage.
Mm-hmm.
What happened?
Short version is my original opponent's a moron. He's basically took a short notice fight 2 weeks before ours, which led to him being medically suspended in New York. And then unbeknownst to a lot of us, I guess he took a kickboxing match the very next day. So the New York Commission sort of tried to make an example out of him. He wasn't injured or anything like that, but they thought he was trying to game the system a little bit by getting all these fights lined up. So they suspended him for, I guess, 90 days now. So we didn't get to fight, obviously, and I thought we were going to be able to fight next week, but now he's suspended for that as well. So it looks like I'm going to end up fighting a different person from his team. So I give him credit for that, at least trying to find someone for me to fight, which is good. But I don't get to fight him yet. But my one fight MMA career is now going to double in size because I'm giving that kid an ass whooping in June when he's off suspension. So I'm now going to fight twice instead of once. Because he deserves it. He put me through all this crap for the past few weeks. So I told him his beating is coming. And I don't usually talk that way, but he does deserve it. So
How are you feeling? Because I know and you have now that you're experiencing that experience, does that make you change the whole process of viewing?
No, in a way that the whole, as frustrating as last week was, the silver lining in all of it, which I thought was kind of good, is obviously the first time you fight is overwhelming, right? The whole day and the whole lead up can be tough as far as knowing, okay, where do I go? What do I do? How's the timing work out and everything? But I got to go through all of that without the actual fight, which was kind of cool. I got to go in the locker room and do all the preparations and do all that, obviously do the weigh-ins and everything else. But so I've basically done everything that you do at Cage Titans apart from the fight. The bright side of the whole thing was at least I got to do that. So I feel like I'm going to be even more comfortable and relaxed going into it next week, as opposed to, first time out, all the jitters and all that stuff. So I'm a huge planner just in every part of my life. So knowing exactly how the day is going to go now and how the process is going to play out just makes me so much more comfortable. So I'm sort of trying to look at it in a positive light that way.
And you seriously did.
I sure did. Yeah. I mean, up until 2 hours after the official, or maybe even 3 hours after the official weigh-in, we still thought there was a chance the fight was going to happen. And a lot of people didn't even find out until the day of the fight that it wasn't happening. So yeah, we did every possible thing except fight pretty much. And it was cool. It was nice of Mike to call me out into the cage. So I got to do the walk and everything else. So I've even done that and go in there. I got to talk a little bit. So, did absolutely everything except get to punch someone in the mouth.
And you also did.
Yes, yeah, all the media, all the weigh-ins, all the pictures. I even have my poster that I didn't get to use, but next time maybe we'll get 2 posters now.
You should, but maybe you need 3, one for each of your kids.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, right.
No,
Yeah,
they're not fighting over it.
Yeah, my daughter still likes me. She might hang it up in her room. The boys don't really care. Dad's old news to them.
You've been a soccer coach for college and for what was it?
Club soccer, so it's like youth, premier type soccer. Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that any of that training that you're doing will help you in your fight?
I think it just helps maybe a little bit with just the mental preparation as far as like I'm constantly trying to get kids prepared, for competition. I'm constantly trying to tell them, how to relax and how to prepare physically, mentally, all that stuff. So I just think the more you are instructing people in that, the more it gets ingrained in your own, brain as well. So, obviously, I competed as an athlete for forever. So I'm used to that, but I do think it'll probably help a little bit. And obviously I'm used to coaching other people too and motivating them and things. So I think it'll probably help a little bit. I don't know. Obviously it doesn't translate to fighting per se, but I do think the mental part and the preparation, the nutrition part, the hydration part, all of that definitely factors in. I'm a stickler for it with my players, so I can't expect them to do it, and then I can't slack off on it myself. So pretty disciplined with that. So it'll probably help out.
Okay. Now, through all of the process, which part stands out the most?
Leading up to the fight process, just the training. It's really cool. When I first went to South Shore, obviously I was just a dad, right? I would sit there and watch the kids, and I would watch the adult classes and watch the adult fighters and think about just it's super cool how close they are. It's like a big family. They all pull for each other. And I never had any intention of fighting, but just sitting there, I was like, oh man, it must be so cool for these guys, to go there and, train together and then, be there and fight night with each other. So it's surreal, honestly, just being part of that now. And, even though I'm just the old guy, they look at me the same way. They treat me like any other member of the fight team. They make fun of me like every other member of the fight team. I make fun of them. It's a good time. So the training really is the best part. It's miserable a lot of the time. I get my ass kicked constantly, and I'm exhausted and I want to throw up most of the time. But it's by the time I get in my car and when I get home, I feel great, and it's I want to go back the next day and do it all again. So just today, even I had a training session with Johnny Campbell and, just learning from Johnny and getting advice from Johnny and having him talk me through things. And physically, I feel like I want to die, but, I leave there thinking like, geez, I just got that much better just spending an hour with this guy, so, and he and everyone else there is so helpful and great to me. So I appreciate all that from those guys and girls.
Yeah, you're training with Johnny. I think he's a really great guy, not only as a fighter, but as a person. Sometimes.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, he's one of the most interesting human beings I've ever met. He's complex, but in a simple way, I guess. It's hard to explain. He has these views and viewpoints that sometimes he'll come up with something that's very enlightening. I say he's a puzzle wrapped in an enigma, wrapped again in a riddle. He's a confusing but very interesting man. I appreciate his viewpoints.
Yeah, and once you get to know him, it's so simple. Like he's just a humble, talented, inspiring human being, and
Absolutely.
gives back to people, and training and all of that. Now, with this, you haven't been training as much as as a fighter to train. You've been doing mixed martial arts and stuff like that. But now that you've been focusing on a fight, do you feel that there's one part of mixed martial arts that you like more? Like, for instance, I love boxing,
Yeah.
but my ground
Yeah,
technique.
I love all of it. I think I find jujitsu the most interesting just because there's so many different things involved in it. I mean, everyone in the world knows that, okay, I can just wing a punch at someone and knock them out, right? But jujitsu, just the techniques involved and the little intricate details and things like that. When I coach soccer, I'm a huge technician. That's my thing. I'm very, very much focused on proper technique and things like that. And I feel like jujitsu, there's so much of that. Again, I still suck at it, but just like I suck at boxing and kickboxing and everything else, but I find it the most interesting, just because, and again, as an old person too, I feel like it's something you can do a little more because you can go to jujitsu and of course you can get hurt and of course you can, be exhausted. And it's a great workout, but usually you're not going to, get knocked out or get a concussion or get too badly injured. So it's something that old guys can do a lot. So after I finish with this fight or the next one or whatever it is, I feel like if I focused on anything, it would probably be that, because you can still do competitions and things when you're old, and you can't be getting many fights when you're 60, but you can still grapple, right? So I think I find that the most interesting, get the most joy from that. But again, it's not because I'm any good at it. I just think it's very intellectual, cerebral sport.
Yeah, it is. It is. That's what I love about it. Especially when you
Hmm.
do something else and it just keeps, evolving one thing after another. And it's
Yeah.
just one simple move and it can turn into something completely different.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it's humbling as well. I mean, I've been, by 115, 120-pound women, right? Which,
Yeah.
any guy who thinks there's some badass goes in there, and we have people like Danielle Heinley at our gym, and Danielle weighs all of 120 pounds, and I can't do anything with her. She's like, every time I think like, oh, I'm about to do it, and suddenly my arm is behind my head and my legs over here, and then I'm just like, my God, thankfully I'm smart enough to know that I can't do anything with her, but it still makes you feel useless.
Now, at the show, like I told you before, I interviewed at least three people, and all three of them stated that since they're turning 30 or they're in their 30s, they're going to retire. While they're retiring, and these are all amateurs, you want to go and do your debut. And, we're not exactly in our 30s anymore. What inspired you to do that?
I've always wanted to. Again, I never thought, even in my 30s, I didn't think that I ever would. One, because I don't feel like I'm a very tough guy. I definitely didn't have the skill to do it. I hadn't trained or anything like that. So I've never had any thoughts thinking that I could do it. But just the more time I spent in the gym and the more I saw, some people that were fighting, not from our gym necessarily, but at different shows and covering shows and stuff, I said, you know what, like, I feel like I could do this maybe just one time. I was hesitant to bring it up to Bill, our coach, just because I thought he was going to laugh at me and say, you're stupid. But when he was okay with it and sort of had a positive reaction to it, I said, all right, maybe I can get in there and do this. But also because my kids, like I said, are so involved in it. And my 12-year-old does want to fight, or at least he says he does now.
Mhm.
I figured if I get in there and do this, even at my advanced age, it will show him like, okay, it's a realistic goal. I mean, not that I don't think he has, these dreams where he's going to be in the UFC or anything like that. But, even fighting locally, I think if he sees his dad do it, he could say, all right, I'm better than my dad. I can get in there and get this done when I turn 18. So, and he is better than me. I'm not kidding. But, so he's got 6 more years to go. I did joke when I was talking to Steve on his podcast that if and when I do win this fight or these upcoming fights, he's only 6 years. No, what's he? 10 years younger than the guys I'm fighting. So I feel like in 6 years he could fight them. I'll ask them, hey, you want to fight my son when he turns 18? So we'll see how that goes. Maybe we can fight the same guys.
So you're going to go from a coach to a fighter to a media person and now a matchmaker for your own
Yeah,
kids?
hell yeah, I could do it. Yeah, but I'll be right there. He won't let me in his corner because I won't serve any purpose. I'm pretty useless, but I'll be cheering him on. I'm sure if I do win, his goal will be to beat these guys faster than I did. So he can have one up on me, which I don't doubt that he will. But okay, I mean, figure they'll be 28 when he's 18, so that'll work. I think it'll be okay.
Can't wait to see this.
I might be dead by then. Hopefully not.
Jeez.
Yeah. These kids are driving me to an early grave, but hopefully I'm still around and I can witness it.
Yes, you will still be around to witness all of this. And I'll be there to interview them and they can tell me everything
Nice.
about
Love it. Love
it.
it.
Yeah, when my dad was training, I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't know what he's trying to do there. What advice would you give to the upcoming fighters that are thinking of starting their career, whether the young ones or the ones with more experience in life?
Someone who's just starting, I would tell them one to find a good gym and a good coach. Obviously, that's number one, and find a coach who's more interested in you than in what they can get out of you as well. You don't want someone who's just like, oh, we're going to get you to the UFC and push you there. Which obviously, if that's your goal, that's great. But you need them to bring you up slowly, bring you through the process, in the right way, and not rush you into things you're not ready for. I've seen it just in the brief amount of time that I've been covering the local and regional shows. Some of these coaches putting guys in there that have no business, fighting yet. They're not prepared for it. And I think they're doing them a disservice because it's either one, going to get them hurt, or two, going to ruin their, motivation to do this if they go in there and get beat up, multiple times before they're ready to fight. So that's number one. And then just enjoy it. Enjoy the training. It's going to be good days and bad days and tough days and whatever. But if you don't enjoy the process leading up to the fight, you're never going to be able to enjoy the fight game at all. And get into a gym where you have people that you like to be around. I mean, that's honestly, it's a huge outlet for me. Sort of keeps me sane. Obviously, I have a lot going on between work and kids and home and all that. It's just it's a great outlet because the people at my gym are so awesome. They're like a family. And they become friends, people that you would never meet otherwise. You meet them at the gym and become friends with them sort of out of nowhere. So find a good coach, a good gym, a gym full of good people who are willing to help you out, not just use you as a punching bag. But I say as well, like people that buy tickets and fans and things like that, they need to support these young fighters in this process, not just wait for them to become famous and get to the UFC and everything else. So this is when they need it. I mean, I watch what these kids go through, what they put themselves through, with training, and most of them have other jobs and things that they're trying to deal with. So, if you're going to, buy some merchandise from these people, do it now. If you're going to buy tickets, do it now. If you're going to sponsor them, do it now. Help them out. Because, I mean, people like me, it's whatever. My life is what it is, right? I'm old. I have kids. I have a job. None of this is really going to change my life. But for these kids, it's a huge difference. And, being able to train full time, if they have that ability and that talent, it's so important to support them now while they're here and before they become big names, because that's when they really need it. So I would tell anyone out there, please, if you have someone in your life that you're close to like that, just help them out, support them, because some of these kids are so talented, but they miss out on opportunities because they have to deal with other parts of life. So I want to see them all succeed. All the local people that that have that ability to do that.
Yeah, that's very important. People want to support them on the big screen and
Mm-hmm.
UFC or their one championship or Bellator, all these well-known promotions, but yet they never helped them when they were starting off, and that's where they really need it so they can focus and actually get to reach the goals that
For
they
sure.
set.
Yeah, like latching onto them once they're in the UFC is, anyone can do that, but supporting them when they're young and up and coming fighters is so incredibly important. And I know a lot of the fighters do have a ton of support. But I hope that there's enough people out there to make their lives a little bit easier, because it's a thankless job. Believe me, the stuff that they go through just physically and mentally, just getting ready for one local fight. I can't even imagine having to do it 4 or 5 times in a year and, making little to no money to do it. So they definitely deserve everyone's support for sure.
If they do, especially amateurs, they don't get any money for this.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it's
For sure.
important because that's why they do their ticket sales, because
Yep.
they're able to get some sort of money, or they do
Mm-hmm.
shirts, or they do certain things. And I remember when I started years ago, people would make fun of the amateurs because they'd be like, "Oh, look at these amateurs doing all these shirts, and now they're doing sponsors." And it's like, but they're not getting any money any other way.
Mm-hmm.
How else are they supposed to do it? Like, they're being smart because now they're building their brand, they're building themselves
Mm-hmm.
to be
Absolutely.
something, and it's like
And people
people
don't
forget.
realize too that a lot of times that just expenses. I mean, between medical expenses and training expenses and everything else. I mean, I look at what I spent to do this, and my medicals were a little more significant given that I'm an old guy, so I have to do a few more tests. But it's expensive. It adds up, I sold a few shirts and obviously sold a lot of tickets, but a lot of times, even when they do sell all that stuff, they're making almost nothing. They're basically just covering what they had to spend, just to get to the fight.
Yeah. Nobody really sees it. Unfortunately, many people don't even care as much. But this
Hmm.
is where now they get to see who's there for them and all that stuff.
Right.
Now you've been training for this fight, and how long have you been training for?
For this specific fight, I think it was maybe end of November. It was sort of tentatively going to happen in February. So that was when I really started. After Thanksgiving, I guess I started to really, ramp things up a little bit. But probably mid-December through January was when I really got into the full-on fight camp. Which again is why it was so incredibly frustrating and disappointing last week when it got postponed. So, and that was the hardest part, honestly, just mentally through that weekend. I enjoyed the fights. I sat there with my sons were with me, and we got to watch our teammates and everything else. But, that weekend I was a mess. I just, like, is this ever going to happen? Is it going to work out? Blah, blah, blah. So I got back to training on Monday. I took the whole weekend off. But even then, it was just the motivation part of it was hard. I'm fine now, but it was difficult to say, am I doing all this again for weeks for no reason? Is this ever going to happen? So I'm okay now, but yeah, it was a little bit frustrating. But you go through a whole fight camp and then say, oh, geez, I was peaking and mentally ready, and now I got to start this whole thing over again. But thankfully, it looks like 10 days we'll get it done.
Now you're also doing media.
Mm-hmm.
By doing media, has it changed your outlook on how the fighters are? As far as we think that fighters' career records are a certain way, and then when we start getting to know them, it's like, oh wait, their records don't really reflect who they are, or we have a certain image of these fighters, and then in reality, it's something completely different.
Right.
Has your view changed since you've been doing media, and now that you're in the process of being a fighter?
Yeah, I always had a ton of respect for all the fighters. Yeah, I think it's, anyone who's willing to fight and step in the cage and, be half naked in front of 2,000 people and, risk getting embarrassed, has my respect. It sounds silly to say, but you think about it, like, yeah, I'm walking half naked, out to a cage to have some guy try to take my head off. It's a big deal, in front of my friends and family and everything else. So I've always had huge respect for all those people. But yeah, getting a little bit closer to the sort of behind the scenes stuff is definitely has helped me understand sort of the mental part of it a little bit more and understand how these fighters, what makes them tick. I've done a lot of interviews with different fighters. Aaron Lacey, who fought last weekend, or I guess 2 days ago up at NEF. I got a chance to sit down with Aaron at his gym and go over some stuff. But it's really cool, though, honestly, because now I feel like I have a little bit of a connection with a lot of these guys because I visited their gyms and, and talked to their coaches and stuff. So I guess that's the only real change. My respect has always been through the roof, but now it's just I feel like I have a little better sense of, what they're like as people and what they go through. Like, again, Aaron is an example. I know Aaron, basically moved in above his gym in New Hampshire. He lives in the apartment above the gym and just commutes 3 hours back to Maine on weekends to make a few dollars working up there. And he comes back and does the whole week again at the gym. So, I look at guys like that and what they're going through. And that's why I say, like, people, you need to support these guys now, and girls and help them out because, he's legitimately, wearing himself to the nub, just working his ass off, trying to get a big payday and trying to get to a big promotion. So, guys like that, it's been pretty cool to see how all that works.
Awesome. Before we conclude, is there anything else you can share with us?
Not really. Just hope to see everyone on the 25th. Come out, and if you have tickets, we'll see you there. If you don't have tickets, I still have more. Feel free to contact me. I can get you some more. Ticket holders from last time are good to go, but anyone else that couldn't make the 5th that wants to come out, by all means, please do it. I just want to thank all my team at Social Sport Fighting, my coaches, my training partners, everyone else. Thank you for taking the time to to talk to me, and and everyone else who's taking the time. It's been really cool. Actually, people were coming up to me at Cage Titans 51 and saying, "Oh yeah, I recognize you." It's really it was so strange to me. So I'm just some debuting bum amateur. Why does anyone care about me? This is really weird. But it was super cool. Like, everyone was so nice and supportive. So I appreciate that. Hopefully more of you will come up and say hello on the 25th. No, but we're just going to go in and beat this guy's face in. And like I said, then take his coach out in June as retribution for making me wait an extra 3 weeks.
They can also get the live stream.
Yes. If you can't make it, order the live stream. That link is not up yet, but it will be. So check. I'll send it out to anyone who wants it. Cage Titans will have it, and I'm sure you will have it on your page as well. So yeah, make sure you put in my last name for your code, so I get $5. My kids got to eat; they're getting big, so please put my name in. If you have another fighter on the card, I get it. If you have to do it for them, but if you don't, use my name.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.